What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Rantin Review here on YouTube, webchannel24.com. I am your host, Rassslin Rantin, a 30-plus year fan of wrestling and sports entertainment. And this is the final list, not countdown, a list for the best of 2020. This is the match of the year, in my opinion, of course. And if you have your own opinion, of course, always feel free to leave it in the comment box below. While you're doing that and let me know how brilliant or stupid that I am for this list, I want you also to hit, smash, drop kick, drop an elbow on the like button. It helps the YouTube algorithm list my video to other people who might like the video, if you guys like the video. So that's definitely helpful with this whole YouTube game. It's weird, but it is a game. But anyway, back to the matches of the year. Now, I'm not going to go through all the matches. I'm basically, again, like I've done this year, I'm going to go company by company. And in WWE, we had several decent matches this year. Of course, you had Randy Orton and Edge saying that they were going to have the greatest wrestling match ever, which it wasn't. It's not even number one on their own countdown. It's not even number one on their own match of the year list for 2020, which is hysterical. I do agree, however, with the match that they put at number one, which was Sasha Banks and Bayley in the Hell in a Cell match. I thought that match from beginning to end was probably the best offering from WWE this year. Running a close second to that was Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles match. They're just a TV Raw match in the tournament. I think it was for the IC Championship tournament earlier this year. That was really a close second. Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre had a great match this year. Survivor Series definitely would include that. There were quite a few matches that were decent in WWE this year. But again, yeah, I'm going to go with Bayley and Sasha for the match of the year for WWE, which is the second time they have been a match of the year on my list, because 5 years ago, that NXT Brooklyn show, we all remember Bayley and Sasha killed it back in 2015. So once again, they kill it again in 2020. New Japan Pro Wrestling was a little bit different for me this year because it took New Japan a little bit of time to get their ships in order, because they took 3 months off. It took a little while for people to get used to how everything was going. But by the beginning of fall, once we got into the G1, you started seeing the great matches churn out. And like I've said before, Hiromu Takahashi, being the Wrestler of the Year, in my opinion, had a great match with Kazuchika Okada. He had a great match with Will Ospreay at WrestleKingdom. He had a great match, outstanding match with El Desperado at the end of the year, like a couple weeks ago at the Best of the Super Juniors final. We also had Tetsuya Naito had some decent matches this year. The evil stuff didn't help him with having a great year of matches. Okada also was a little bit off this year. And of course you had the G1 tournament. Ishii and Minoru Suzuki, I could watch that all day long. There's probably about basically 5 to 10 matches in the G1, as it is every year, that I would be like, that's a pretty damn good match. So if you're not a person who's ever watched the G1 Climax, do yourself a favor as a wrestling fan who likes wrestling matches, watch the G1 Climax. It is just like Christmas. It literally, well, actually, probably I should say it's more, because it's multiple days. It's Hanukkah for every wrestling fan. But man, I will have to go, however, with, after thinking about it quite some time, I'm going to go with Kazuchika Okada versus Tetsuya Naito from WrestleKingdom 15, where Naito finally gained the IWGP Heavyweight Championship at the Tokyo Dome in the main event. 6 years in the making, a story that had been going on for a very long time, too long for some people, but it finally got done. The match itself was great because Okada and Naito have never really had, blow the walls down kind of matches. Okada had with Kenny, Naito had with Kenny and Tanahashi. Okada had with Tanahashi, but Okada and Naito never quite had that, match of the year with each other. And this year, I'm happy to say, as a New Japan fan, in my opinion, I'm going to give them finally match of the year for 2020. NXT North American NXT, they just call it regular NXT. Had kind of the same issue with New Japan. It's like there's a lot of really good matches, but they all kind of like nothing really stood out, except for two matches. Pat McAfee and Adam Cole was a fantastic match. It's not my match of the year for NXT though, but that was an example of a person coming in and basically kind of embarrassing the entire roster of all wrestling promotions. That this guy has a better mastery of wrestling psychology than I would say maybe 50%, maybe more of the people wrestling today. Definitely a surprise, wonderful match. The War Games matches are always, they have become my favorite things in NXT now. But I will say, at the end of it all, I will go with this match. I'm going to go with a match that's not even in NXT proper. It's in NXT UK. You guys know where I'm going with this. Dragunov versus Walter. I did not watch a lot of NXT UK before that match, and now I'm going to be watching a whole lot more, and have been watching a whole lot more of NXT UK. This was probably one of the most hard-hitting matches I've ever seen in WWE history, for sure. If you haven't checked it out, go on the network or wherever you can find it and check out this match from NXT UK. Walter is one of the best, and I think because of travel restrictions, he can't, go anywhere. But the UK scene, as much as I complain about the fact that they kind of gave their scene up, they basically sold out their scene to Vince. Because they did that, however, they were able to have shows this year, because I don't think that the Indies would have survived without the assistance of WWE this year over the UK. The UK scene might have been wiped out completely, so I don't know. But it's cool that they were able to do this, and I am looking forward to seeing what WWE is going to be doing in the future with Walter in particular, because he is such an untapped resource as far as being a monster heel, and I think there's a lot that can be done with him on the main roster. We'll see if that happens in the future. AEW, it comes for me down to two matches, and both involve the Young Bucks. The Young Bucks versus Kenny Omega and Hangman Page, and the Young Bucks versus FTR. In my opinion, those are the best two matches this year from AEW, All Elite Wrestling. Picking one was very, very hard, but the slight edge I gave to the Revolution match. Kenny Omega, Adam Page against the Young Bucks, and it was really having a crowd is basically what it came down to. If I had to pick because both matches are fantastic. There's a lot of drama in a lot of them, a lot of great ring psychology. The story in the Page Omega versus Bucks match is a little bit more emotional than the one with FTR and the Young Bucks, but the one with FTR and the Young Bucks felt like a competition. And I love when wrestling feels like it's two opposing forces actually competing against each other. That was the fantastic part of that match. And plus, you saw every signature move and just about every finisher from any tag team that's existed over the last 25 years in that match. So, but it was hard. Again, I think with a crowd, it may have wound up being FTR versus the Young Bucks for me. But again, the little bit of extra drama, having a live audience, being back in an era when we still had fans in wrestling arenas over 500 people, I'm going to go with that match. Revolution, the Young Bucks challenging the AEW World Tag Team Champions, Hangman Adam Page and Kenny Omega at Revolution. I'm doing one extra category here for cinematics because I don't consider cinematics matches. I consider them, basically they're basic action scenes. That's what they are. They're stunts, they're recorded, they have takes. It's basically an action sequence. So cinematics don't have the ring. There's not a three, often there's not a 3 count. It's kind of hard sometimes to tell when they end. They kind of end when they just end. So that's why they're not in the match of the year category. But I did want to address the cinematic because 2020 was a year that we got a lot more cinematics in the world of wrestling, which has been around for like 20 or some years now, though. But really amped up this year by AEW and WWE in particular. I did enjoy the Boneyard match with AJ Styles and The Undertaker. I do think, ironically enough, it's a fitting way for The Undertaker to kind of go out. The Stadium Stampede from AEW was probably the only good thing on that whole show that I actually really liked. And there was a couple more this year. I remember Asuka going crazy in the Money in the Bank ladder cinematic where they were running up Titan Tower to get to the top. I'll give it to them. They threw everything against the wall this year. Both of the North American companies, AEW and WWE, threw everything at the wall this year, trying to see what would stick with the restrictions because of the pandemic. I am going to go with my favorite cinematic of this year, though, however, being Bray Wyatt, John Cena, the Firefly Funhouse, because it was so meta. And if you're going to do something that's not going to be really about a match or pinfalls or competition, and you're really just doing cinematography and special effects and action stunt sequences, that thing, not only did it have all of that, but it had a mind-bending because They reference so many things that you thought that WWE would never reference or admit to, especially John Cena being the most overrated, overprivileged WWE superstar of all time. Did you ever think you'd hear those words on WWE Network television? No, especially coming out of John Cena's mouth. But we haven't seen the Cena since. I don't know. We can't see him. I don't know if he's coming back this year in 2021. I would assume so at some point in time. I can't imagine that Cena will go out like that. But who knows? That might have been the end of John Cena, so it might be a historical cinematic. That's my pick. I'm going to enjoy... The one with Braun Strowman wasn't as good. And some of the stuff with Randy Orton wasn't as good. I think, again, it's the meta stuff. The inside baseball stuff. The mind screw that even had Titus O'Neil's mouth gaping at the end of the Firefly Funhouse cinematic, which wins it for me for the best cinematic of 2020. But that's it. Those are my opinions, of course, of the best matches of the year 2020. I want to know what your opinions are for the best of 2020. Let your voice be heard in the comment box below. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe to this channel. Of course, I have other year in review reviews on the channel right now. You can also sign up for my mailing list, and on the mailing list you'll get information on when new videos are going up and when my podcast comes out. And that's about it. I thank you guys for checking this out. If you want some free stuff, check down in the description box below. There's a 30-day free trial for Audible. There's some free stock stuff down in there. So there's a couple goodies down there for you guys here at the end of the year. Thank you all for watching this year. 2020 has been blah on a macro level, but even just this channel, 2020 was a blah year and having to redo it and restart it over again. So thank you all again for watching this year. 2021 will be a better year for all of us. So you guys stay safe out there. Enjoy yourselves tonight. Have a happy new year, and I'll see you all in 2021. Have a good day.